you, Stefan. And since I only have 12 minutes, I'm going to sort of jump right into it. But as a caveat, when we started talking about doing this, it was, people get scared when I tell them things I think are going to happen, right? So now I'm going to talk about things I'm not sure will happen, but they are black swans because they are exactly that. So what is a black swan? A black swan is a extremely rare, very, very unlikely event, but if it should happen, it would change everything. And since I only have 12 minutes, I normally like to do Q&A, but you know what? Let's argue afterwards, and you can tell me how wrong I am. So I'm just going to go right in and start presenting the three. And I said 5, but with 12 minutes, I cut it. 3 black swans. Here we go. Black swan number 1. The MLS becomes a public utility. Let me take you back to 2006, back in the days when the DOJ was suing NAR and all kinds of fun stuff was happening. There was a hearing on Congress in Capitol Hill at the House Financial Services Subcommittee on Housing and Community Opportunity called The Changing Real Estate Market. And at this hearing, one of the witnesses, a gentleman by the name of Stephen Brobeck, who's the executive director of the Consumer Federation of America, had this to say. Second, because the MLSs and Realtor.com so dominate listing services, they function as a near monopoly and should be regulated as a public utility, meaning anyone and everyone can have access to all the information, have home sale information. Well, back then, this lady, Pat Combs, along with a bunch of other people from the industry, went and made some pretty strong arguments on why this was a terrible idea, including the fact that the MLSs are cooperatives among competing brokerages. And nothing really happened. Congress didn't act, and the threat was averted, as it were. Then 2008 happens. And as we all know, housing bubble, collapse. The entire financial market starts to melt down. We all know about the collapse of guys like Lehman Brothers. It would have been unthinkable. We know about the Wall Street bailout. We know about AIG. We know about all of these problems that we as a nation have been through and, quite frankly, are still going through. Sometime last year, Bloomberg News estimated that the United States government had spent, lent, or guaranteed $12.8 trillion to keep up the economy, or Wall Street. When you have problems of this magnitude, people tend to ask, what happened? And here's one of the answers that we've gotten from the Senate Committee on Investigations. One of the things they pointed out was that the credit rating agencies during the whole financial crisis utterly failed. Well, why did they fail? And I quote, "The absence of relevant data for use in RMBS, that's residential mortgage-backed securities modeling, left the credit rating agency unable to accurately predict mortgage default and loss rates." Right? So they didn't have good data. Okay, well, in the last couple of years, what we've seen are companies within the industry, companies like RPR and RBI and CoreLogic, go to Wall Street, go to Fannie and Freddie and say, hey, guys, you should buy our data. We have really good data. We have the MLS data is the platinum standard. You should buy this because this will help you do what? Model the predictive analytics of credit rating agency and things of that nature. Trouble is, of course, there's no national coverage. In other words, if you wanted to get great data out of the MRIS market areas, you can get that. If you wanted to get where RPR is active, you can get that. But nationally, there is no national coverage. So the black swan would be, Wall Street goes to Congress, says, we need this data. Congress says, we're spending $12.8 trillion. Let's get this data. The easiest way of doing this, of course, would be to create the HUD multiple listing service, powered by the National Association of Realtors, so it would be a private-public consortium. And the result of something like this would be the following. Detailed listings data for everyone. It would be pay to use and get paid to add, just like solar power and electric. Rules and fees would be set by government regulators, not by us. Compliance now is a matter of law, not a nasty email you get from the local MLS. And who knows, maybe there's a jail term attached. And of course, because of public utility, there's no cooperation compensation. That's number 1. Black swan number 2. Realogy acquires Zillow. I hear people laughing. Well, big part of this, because we've been talking about Zillow like they are the kings of the industry. And Realogy, a lot of folks go, aren't they broke? Aren't they dead? What actually turns out, if you look at the actual numbers, Realogy is many, many times larger than Zillow is today. So just looking at a market cap, they're about 4 times the size of Zillow. If you look at the revenues in 2012, it's $4.7 billion versus $117 million for Zillow. And just core operating cash flow is something like 18 times what Zillow reported in last year. So we know that Realogy has the financial capability to do this. Question is, why would they? Why would Realogy do such a thing? And I've got people here going, yeah, we never do that. But why? Well, if you know anything about Realogy, you know that one of the important things about them is this thing called the value circle, where parts of the company feed into each other and generate sort of a multiplier effect. Well, what's missing from this? In 2013, what's missing is a massive online lead generation capability. So that would be the why. What would such a thing potentially look like? Well, you have the unparalleled footprint of Realogy. Last year, they had 13,600 offices worldwide with 240,000 agents or so. Just in the United States, Realogy and affiliated brands did 1.26 million transaction sides. That's about a quarter of the entire sales activity in the United States. You can combine that, and they have a strong management track record. We heard Budge. We know that Realogy is a core part of the industry. They're not some third party. They're not some brand new discount brokerage. They are, in real ways, the ultimate insider. Put that together with Zillow's 50 million monthly uniques. Put that together with Zillow's enormous technology capabilities. And for Zillow, currently they're on this sort of subscription-based model. Under Realogy, a Zology, I suppose, could go to more of a percentage of GCI model like relocation does today. So the result would be, in my opinion, massive recruiting retention advantage to Realogy companies because you can offer out the power of the Zillow. Syndication is no longer an issue. It's one thing to withhold listings from some third-party technology site. Withhold it from Realogy, that's another story. The combined company's margins would be much higher than the average in either industry. And last but not least, you can combine the veteran leadership of people like Budge, people like Alex Perla, people like Richard Smith, and put the brilliant young entrepreneurs at Zillow under them for the next generation leaders. I think there's actually some plausibility to why this could potentially happen. That would be Black Swan number 2. Black Swan number 3, Walmart Realty expands. Just curious, how many people here knew Walmart had a realty? A few. So they do. The Walmart Realty, here's our homepage. They're only in commercial real estate right now, and they tend to do things around their store, site selection and so on. But they have a realty. Why would Walmart even think about doing this? Well, because the real estate market, the residential real estate market is huge. In 2013, according to the forecast, we're looking at the entire housing market being somewhere in $865 billion or so. So if you say GCI 6%, we know it's probably a little less. The industry as a whole probably does about $52 billion in GCI revenue, right? Keep that number in mind. The largest brokerage in the United States today is the NRT, which is a division of Realogy. They have 710 offices with 41,300 agents. They did about 290,000 closed sides, and their GCI revenues last year was $3.4 billion. That's only 7.8% of the entire industry revenues. Now let's look at Walmart. They have 2.2 million employees worldwide. Just in the United States, they have 4,600 stores. And an estimated 100 million customers go through those doors every single week. And because they have Walmart Realty, they have brokerage licenses, probably in all 50 states. And if you go to Walmart today, and I do like going to Walmart because I like it, what you find is that they have hair salons in them. And they're Walmart employees. And in most of our 50 states, the cosmetology license is a lot harder to get than the real estate license. What people don't really think about Walmart very much is the fact that they are an absolute world-class information technology company. In some ways, they have pioneered use of things like big data and predictive analytics in ways that we're just now starting to get to talk about. So in 2004, Walmart's been secretive how much data they have, but in 2004 is the last reported number, Walmart had 460 terabytes of consumer data, of customer data, which at the time was twice the size of the entire internet. Right? And that was in 2004. And we know they make investments, and they've been building these giant data centers. There's just 2 of them, Colorado Springs and something called Area 71. And a lot of people, there are a bunch of people who think that Walmart have videotape on every single customer who shops on every little thing that in their store, and they use it for predictive modeling. So, huge footprint, massive technology, the end result of which is Walmart's sort of way they compete, cost advantage. And I said, well, Walmart, if they were to go into residential real estate, they're probably not going to just do it on their own. They might acquire somebody who kind of fits that mold, and I thought, this probably makes some sense. Right? How's that for a discount brokerage? Combine the footprint, the technology, the incredibly strong operational management of Walmart, And I think what you end up with is a discount brokerage like we have never seen before that has able to establish totally dominant cost advantage within the real estate brokerage sector. And could you imagine what you would have to pay a Walmart Realty to list your house? It might not be percentage. It might be like $500 and you're done. Right? And this is just Walmart. But fact of the matter is, as we think about, in the industry, we've been worried a little bit about like banks coming into this picture. Right? And I said, why not retail? Because the other group that makes a whole lot of sense would be like Home Depot, maybe, Lowe's, do a totally vertically integrated. You can do everything from buy a house all the way to do your fix-up, right? It makes sense. Big retail might actually find this incredibly compelling. So that's black swan number 3. The point of all of this is not to suggest that this is going to happen. As Stefan mentioned this morning, predicting things makes you a fool. The point of this, I think, is to say these things are plausible. They may not be likely, but they're plausible. And if they are plausible, the question for the people in this room who are the CEOs, who are the people who are supposed to take strategic views at things, how would you respond? If any one of those 3 black swans came to pass, how would you respond? Walmart Realty would be happy to sell you a home. And I think that's the reason that we wanted to present these ideas. And with that, I know I'm running out of time, so I just want to say thank you very much for entertaining these ideas.